Joe, update us on the whole situation with Spring Valley Lake and what's going on there with controls of the the golf course and the future of SVL.
Well, in the next couple of days, the association has a vote on April 28th. There are 6 people running for 4 seats. And hopefully, out of that will, I believe and I've heard that there are 3 people on a current committee, trying to work with Spring Valley Country Club and Club Corp on an acquisition. I think that the real challenge, Terry, and I've said this, and some people don't like, but I'm a kind of a factual guy. Um, it's going to take 66% of the property owners in here to approve something. I think that if property owners in Spring Valley Lake realize that if the club were to close, that is, as Brian Hurst with Shear Realty, top agent with Shear this last year, told me personally, he told Rory, Shannon, and his dad, values could drop 30% here. So I think that as you look here on the 11th green where Devin and I have lived and the 2 houses we have, yeah, it could have a pretty big impact. I did have a gentleman call me last week that said, Miss Brady, I understand you have some houses on the golf course. That's the reason you're really concerned. I said, you know what? I said, I was really smart back when the market was really good about putting my money away. And I said, I wasn't driving fancy cars. I was driving Camry after Camry after Camry. I said, so yeah, it would hurt me, but I said it wouldn't destitute me. I said, but it would destitute the community. But Spring Valley Country Club is a community asset to Spring Valley Lake. It's a regional asset to the high desert to the Mojave River Valley. It's the only private country club, private golf club between Ontario and Las Vegas. I think at the end of the day that it might take a prudent buyer, working in the best interest of the association to come on in, to work out a deal with Club Corp, buy it, and then work with the association on the marketing, the strategic plan, and all that. Club needs a couple $1 million. It's 50 years old. It's an incredible golf course. It's a Robert Trent Jones Jr. and Senior golf course. At one time, I was low. I was a 4. I still like to play, but I just don't play as much. But it's got great bones. So it's like looking at an older building. It's got great bones. But I think that I really think that they need to have a strategy. And I have suggested some names, from Frank Vane from the McMahon Group to take a look at it, which has been rebuffed, unfortunately, by a couple of committee members. I think they might think they know more about golf, but it's okay. I've been a partner in a golf course. You've got Troon Golf. Troon is like number 2 in the golf industry behind Club Corp. Club Corp owns 200. They own them. Troon owns 1 or 2 themselves, but they manage them. So why don't you bring in one of these companies and have them assess the community, the region? Terry, back in December, I reached out to Eric Rad at SCLA. He runs the airport. The guy's a great guy. Asked him if he would entertain, Shannon and Jim Carr and Phil Steitzka and David Ruzzi and others from the club to show them where the jobs are. The jobs are out there. And you know what? We're in April, and that call's already made. And he said, I'll host some lunch and I'll give him a tour and I'll show him where the jobs are. So I know that Club Corp recently had an open forum meeting with the members, but I think they said the members, if you want to increase the membership, you got to do it on your own because we're not going to put any more money in. So I think that hopefully with some new players getting elected, that things will get shook up. On the CSD, there's a hearing at the end of the month, on April 30th. It's a protest hearing, but in order to stop the CSD from moving forward, you have to get 50% plus 1 votes to stop it. In talking to Sam Martinez recently, who's the executive director, I believe he said they sent out either 5,605 letters to registered voters on in here. So divide the math, add 1. That's how many protest letters you'd have to get. It's not going to happen. So I do think this is going to go to a vote. But for those watching this, let me tell you this. I'm getting 3-4 calls a week, every single week. So in a month, I get 20 calls. Well, imagine how many months we've been doing this. So I'm feeling pretty good that at one point, I'm probably going to send out a letter and invite people to a community hall meeting down at Spring Valley Lake. The general manager, Alfred Logan, and the board had allowed the Rory Shannon's group to use the facility many times, so they need to do that for us. And I think this is going to be I think it's going to be an interesting battle. People say, Joe, what are you going to get out of it? There's nothing in it for me. I originally proposed that we looked at doing this in 2008, 2009. I was a big proponent of the discussion. But after reading all the documents, Terry, somebody just delivered back to me a whole box, got an entire box. My office has spent a lot of time typing this. There's not one thing that has said to me, wow, we got to go do this. So I think as people say, what do I got to do? All you got to do is text me your information to my cell, 760-954-4567, or you can go to josephwbrady56@gmail.com. You can Google me at Joseph W. Brady and go to the Bradco Company's website. But when you send something, be sure to put your name in the subject line, that you're opposed to the CSD. Even if you're not opposed and you're a proponent and you want to come to our meetings, I don't care. I mean, this stuff's all, it's. I will say this. There is one of the original people that was apparently heavily involved in this. Has made continual contact with me recently, and they are absolutely sold that this is a bad deal, and that tells me something. When somebody was a real proponent of this before, I was a proponent to look at it. I wasn't a proponent to do it until you studied it. But when you put the numbers away, you want the numbers to come out. Of course, they're going to look good. I mean, that's how government accounting. That's what got WorldCom in trouble. When they cooked the books. Yeah.
We hear next why Joseph W. Brady is devoting so much time and expense addressing issues dealing with the future of Spring Valley Lake as well as the high desert Mojave River Valley.
Terry, next month, May 13th, I will celebrate 32 years here. October 31st this year, I will celebrate 32 years on my first day with my wife. Yeah, my parents my mom recently died, and my dad died in 2016. In life, you meet a lot of people that teach you things. Some teach you that you have to pick up that last nickel. Some teach you that money is the almighty God. I was lucky as a young man that we lived in a good middle class neighborhood in LA. My dad did very well financially. My parents had a philosophical issue, and it was charity started at home and charity started outside the house. My dad was all about charity started outside the house. My mom was charity started inside the house. My mom would say to my dad, if I was having a hard time, you need to help out Joe, and he'd say, no, that's not how it's going to do. Joe's going to figure it out on his own. Okay, so then my mom was in the fundraising business, and she gave a lot. We've been involved in a lot of causes. I've sat on a lot of boards. The three regional economic development councils that people, like Tom Burke and Brad Orchard and Robert Lovingood and Keith Olberg and a lot of people were involved in. Those are just an absolute outflow of money that people would say, well, Brady's doing this because he's going to get a real estate deal. So you know how we handled that in our first economic council? We got the document from Kern County that said if you sit on this board, you can't do any real estate deals. You can't have anything to do with it. Okay, so now let's take that issue out. So you can say to people all day long that, yeah, I'm in the for-profit business. But Deb and I have been lucky enough that we don't have to pick up the last nickel. I don't have to worry about getting that listing. If somebody else gets it, hey, great. I'm not worried about the popularity contest. But I am concerned about where we live, work, and play. Deb and I have spent 32 years up here together. And we've had some great times. We've had some disastrous times. We have both lived up here while both of our parents have passed away. We've lived in this great house. It was one of the biggest remodels of all time that afforded us to be able to do things. But what my dad taught me and my mom taught me was about work. They also taught me about giving back. And, as we're, cleaning up the files at Bradco right now during this COVID deal and really reflecting, at one time, I came up here in '88, didn't really start, we incorporated the company in '89, did a lot of surveys, bus tours, things like that to really not only get our name out there, but to get the Victor Valley, it was called the Victor Valley at the time, name out there, because we were really just on the edge of the world out here. And, we had Jack Fales and, Don Foresi and Tom Dorshak and George Fry and all those guys, I just felt, and I have always felt, and people can read through it for whatever they want, and I really don't care. I recently hired a new lady in our office, and I said to her, because everybody's on a bonus program, so the world will now know, 30% of the time that we do things have nothing to do with Bradco. My time at VVC, it's not going to get me a listing. It could make a parent really upset. Okay. The survey is about how do we improve where we all live, work, and play. Okay, I felt that I had thick enough skin in order to take the political backlash. I'm proud of what we've done at VBC. I've been in some political fights. I've also raised a good amount of money over there, so I know the support that we get. The survey, the newsletter. The newsletter helps me, but it hopefully helps every real estate agent on up here. It hopefully helps John Conley at CPI and Don Brown at Lee and Jason Lamoureux and you know what? I think what happens is people get worried. I look at the pie being this big, and if you can increase the size and give everybody a little more slice, who cares? But there's some people that really care about the day they die, that they've got this ton of money in this pile and homes and cars, and I've never seen a U-Haul follow a hearse. Terry, I think people measure life in monetary aspects. Why am I involved in the CSD issue? Everybody knows that we're designing a house in Prescott. Most people that don't want to hear this, Bradco's not for sale, and Bradco's not going anywhere. I'm 63. I plan on doing this till I'm about 78, so I got 15 more years in me. But I can do this. You don't have to be here physically every day. We got a great staff. But you know what? It's not all about the money. So the CSD thing. I mean, I sat as budget chairman in here in 2006, 7, and 8. Okay, we fought to get these streets done many, many, many years ago, back when Bill Postus was here, and Mitzelfeld was here, and then Lovegood is here. And ultimately, the streets got fixed because of the state tax through SB1. We got a great community. There's issues to fight for. This is a great golf course, great members, great stories. I mean, I made the Nationals twice here in '89 and '90. I competed with some great people. So you know what? It's not all about the last dime, and I think people really get mixed up, and they, oh, does that guy have a bigger car? I'll tell you, Terry, when I first came up here, I was, before I moved here, I was vice president of Pegasus Development in Santa Barbara. I worked for a friend of mine who I'd gone to college with. And before he took a big hit on a deal, he said, go out and lease any car you want. I'll give you $500 a month, and I'll cover your gas on it. This is an '87. So I go and I lease a Toyota Cressida, electronic dash. I mean, it had everything on it, man. This car was, I'm in Santa Barbara, and when I would play La Cumbre Country Club in Hope Ranch, I'd park it where the servants parked. Okay? When I pulled into Victorville, people said, wow, where'd you get that car? Well, during the times that, we were making a lot of money, and as one of my competitors said, you own the market for a long time here. I was driving new Camrys every 3 years. You know why? Because I just don't. I grew up in Hancock Park down in L.A. You can go read about it. Howard Hughes, J. Paul Getty. That stuff was not important. It was, what can you do to better your church? What can you do to better your neighborhood? What can you do to better your child's school? What can you do to better our world? But some people, it's all about money. Oh, I remember a couple of years ago, I was actually sitting here on the patio with a friend of mine, and we were working on a partnership, and he says to me, he goes, Joe, I got more money than you do. And I remember saying to him, I said, I'm glad that is what's important to you. So I said, where I came from, we sat across the aisle from Walter O'Malley and Peter O'Malley with the Dodgers. I'm going to tell you this. They walked in St. Basil's Church, you would know who they were and they were not treated any different than anybody. They didn't treat me any different because my parents didn't own the Dodgers. Those are the kind of people I think that this COVID thing is going to hopefully reshape how we all think. I think the COVID issue will hopefully make us all be better people and give a helping hand and help people. And, you watch the news and you watch some of the great things that people are doing and coming out of their pocket, and you think, wow, that's what this is all about. Deb and I hope at the end of the day to be able to do something big. We probably won't be able to see it, but we do plan on doing something at the end, and then having it all go to a good cause. And in the meantime, drive modest cars and live in modest houses, and have a lot of great friends, and try to make the high desert, the Mojave River Valley, the best place to live, work, and play. And if people don't like that, that's okay.